Alright, so in this video what we're going to do is we're going to start showing you some structured text examples. So in this video we're going to do a one-shot example. What I've done is I've actually, in this program, this is a version 32, this is Studio 32, so this is going to show you this environment. And again, I've made the actual program right here, and I've made the routine, the main routine. Main routine is just calling the subroutine. Okay, so haven't actually done any programming. Okay, haven't actually done any programming yet. So what we're going to do is I've thrown some examples in here, or basically my rough text, right? So if I were to take that out, it would be control, and I'm adding it in as 2 slash marks as a comment section. You can also come in here and do comments such as this, as stars, and that will help you as if you wanted to have it into an if then else statement, so you can, that way you can tell, you know, something like that. So first what we're going to do is we're going to make a tag. Okay, so what I want you to understand too is when you're making the tags for a structured text program, generally speaking, you're going to be using a function block type tag, right? So when you're doing this, so we're going to call this one shot, and then we're going to call this example, or we'll call this one shot count, because we'll use this in a count for an example. Count trigger. Okay, so we use this as a counter. We'll use this as a counter outside of this actual structured text, just to make it simple and something you could see right off the bat. So we're going to call this FBD, and then we're going to go to one shot, right? So this is going to be a one shot. So what we're going to do right here, we're going to make it. Now we have this tag. We're obviously going to use this off a real world input. So I'm going to use the trainer on this. I'm actually going to populate, and I have a trainer input already that I can use. So I'm going to actually type that in, D01, yep, that's it. We're going to actually use that, and we're going to close this. Okay, so this is going to basically index this. Okay, so then in this instance, we're going to say that the trigger, first we need to make this. So before this even comes to mind, we're going to do a one-shot rising, and we're going to come over here and add the proper elements. Paste that in there. We're going to do one-shot trigger. Actually, this is the, sorry, this is, let's get this right here. One-shot trigger. Paste this in here to make this a happy little environment. So when this comes in, again, we're going to have this as the one-shot trigger right here, and then we're going to have that. So let's look at the values, because I don't see this transitioning like I should. So this is the input, this is coming in, we close that. So see, we're not closing, I got something wrong here. Oh, I need to be looking at the input. So I need to be looking at the input, because in a one-shot rising, if you think about this, okay, so in a one-shot rising, I want you to understand that you have an input and you have an output. So we're going to actually use the output, and I'll bring this up here. We're going to use the output externally. So real quick, I'll show you the way these work. So we're going to actually close this right now. So we're just making the one shot in here. And we're going to use this in the next several videos. We're going to actually come in and use this for many different things. But I want to give you a simple example of this right now. So we're going to come in here and add a rung over here. And we're going to actually use this externally, because I want to populate this right here, trigger this down, and use the output. Okay, I'm going to use the output bit, and then I'm going to come in here and use a counter. So we'll throw a simple counter in here. We'll call this one shot count. So, and even though we have one shot count trigger, we have one shot count. You know, that's just basically, you know, going to indicate that. Tag already exists. Let's see, one shot count current. We'll call that current count. I have so much stuff going on in this program, so that's probably why I don't want to actually overlap what I'm doing. So I have some presets in here. Let's do 10 just as a preset, and we won't have any resets right now. Can maybe come in and add a reset for the next trigger or something like that. So we have this in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you first off this. Again, this watch tab is really helpful. So what I'm going to do is actually push the very first button on the trainer that we have, right on the trainer, so you can see that the bit translates to the actual input. So think about this. In ladder logic, you normally go from left to right. In structure text, you go right to left. Okay, on some most 90% actually all of things. So when you come to doing and understanding the way structure text is scanned and looked at and stuff like that, except for if then else type situations where you still are, when you're doing like an output command or an input command, it's best to understand that it goes from right to left instead of left to right. So just think about it like that. If then and else is more like a statement type, so it's slightly different. So I don't want to confuse the two. This is just a graphical interface for us to use, just like any other software programming tool, right? So point of this is you cut this on, cut this off. You can see the values. I'm going to show this. I'm going to push the button and you'll see the value come in. Okay, so you've seen the value come in. Now we should actually come over here and count at a 1 here. Okay, so I'm going to now let you see the when I push the button again, I'm going to let you see the actual output come on. So in a one-shot rising in a function or in function block or inside of structure text, they're one and the same, you would have an input and then an output, right? So I pushed it 4 times. You got to see it 4 exact times. So what we can do is we can actually come in here and actually turn a light on as well. But here's the thing with using a one-shot rising. This is our one-shot input output. It's really as quick as you want to use it. So if I were to want to control a light from an actual, let's just say for instance, if I wanted to control a light from an actual one shot, right? So if I wanted to control this light, this output for this, then what I would do instead of using the output is I would use the input. Now why would I do that is because the longer I hold the input, the light will stay on. But the quicker, if I let go of the input, then the output of the one shot is going to drop. So let's actually do that. Let's actually come in here and let's write a if, and we'll grab this. We'll call this. We'll grab this over here. And I want to show you this because you can use your drop down, right? So put dot, and then we're going to use input. Okay, if input, which is great. Then we're going to make a new tag. Okay, so we're going to make a new tag. We're going to call this D O O. And this is going to be our first output. We're going to alias this bit. Okay, I'm going to alias this bit over here to the actual output. So this is going to be the first output in our bits. Okay, so this is going to come in here like this. And even though I'm using it in several different spots in the program, I have it AFI'd, so it should be perfectly fine to use it. So I'm going to say that this bit is going to be a 1, close that. Else, right? Then this bit, the DO, would be a 0. Okay, so I want to make sure I cut it off as well, because if it's not actually on, then I want to end if, right? I don't want to end if. Okay, so basically I'm saying if the input is on, then turn on the light. Now I very well could have said if the DI, the input is on, to cut on the outputs, right? Same exact thing. So we're going to actually show that right now. So we're going to actually show the light getting cut on right now. And the reason I did what I did is so every time I'm holding this down, you'll see that this is on. Now it's only going to trigger one shot. So if I come over here, and no matter how long I hold that button, it's only going to count one time. Watch. So see, the light stayed on. The light stayed on, but it only triggered the output one time. So this is a very versatile and very functional tool, right? And I think this watch feature really ties it in all really nicely. Now again, I didn't have to use the input, but I wanted to use it as an example for you to understand the way the one shot works. It's a one shot rising, right? Now again, when it comes down to it, this is an example of how to use a one-shot in a structured text program. So what I wanted to do is, show you a good implementation of that, show you a counting system tied onto that so it makes it full circle, and then control an actual light on an actual trainer to give you the very best from this video. Now, if you like this video, please share it, and again, like it, and we'll see you guys on the next one.